I'm going to talk about, the difference between protection and prevention. Um, and, this, I would like this to be for, you know, the church, because I do believe that there is, and I say the church, but this can be for anybody really. But I have found that, some, you know um groups, created in the church, sometimes, they want to protect, but they, are being too protective. Um and that's really, so what I'm saying is, when you prevent, you know you can, because there's different, I believe there's different types of, prevention, preventing, but the kind of preventing that I'm, talking about is overprotection. And so I just wanted to, talk about that, just real quick, and give you, two examples. First, starting out with, protecting, you know, whenever, like, let's say you're in a group, and, you blurt out something that does not align with God. This happened to me just, recently. I was on a mission trip, and we were eating at a restaurant, because it was like the final day, that we were there, and we were eating at a restaurant, and there was a conversation about, like, things that they put in, like, soda, that, here in the U.S., that cause, cancer. And so I was joking about it, but at the same time, I blurted something out, and I'm not going to repeat it, but I blurted something out that was not aligned with God at all. And the, leader, corrected me, and said that that's not, we don't speak those words. And I was like, I do, I immediately apologized, because, it reminded me of that moment when Jesus was telling the disciples of what he was going to have to go through. And Peter, said, you shouldn't, speak that, Lord. And the Lord had to correct Peter to get him back into alignment. And so, likewise, the leader had to say that to get me back into alignment. That's not anything to be ashamed about, because, sometimes we, blurt, and what I blurted out was something that I was just joking about, but it was still out of alignment. It was a word curse that I just blurted out. I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just one of those things that I thought that, by blurting it out, like, joking about it, that, like, I don't even know, I don't even remember, exactly, what I was, thinking at the time. But it was something that I just blurted out, right then and there. And the leader had to correct me on it, because it was not aligned with the things of God, and just was not, you know, it did not align. So in that perspective, that would be a example of, the leader needing to bring correction because, there was needed to protect a sense of, protecting, a certain, individual, because what I blurted out was a word curse. And so, that, you know it was out of protection, for me and that, person, that I just randomly, blurted that out to. Now, a example of, preventing or being too protective, would be, I've, been in groups, like, and I'm just gonna say group chats, where, you know and I understand how in a group chat they want you to stay on topic, and they typically don't like you to say something that is lengthy, and things like that, and just want you to stay on topic. However, I do remember some incidences, and I'm not gonna share what chat, all, but I just remember some incidences where I've been a part of group chats where I have shared a lengthy message, or maybe a message that was kind of on the borderline of staying on topic, but also maybe there was maybe a few things in there that wasn't necessarily like on topic or whatever. And I've had leaders that started those group chats message me and say, hey, we like to keep it on point and whatnot, and looking back at it, there was nothing wrong with what I said. In fact, parts of it would have been on point and on topic, and nothing was out of line from God. What I said was not anything that was out of line. It was still in line with God and with the Holy Spirit. And for them to just always correct me, and just be like, maybe delete what I delete the message that I shared or whatever. Just that's a good example of being overly protective, because it's not that what was said was completely out of topic, and it wasn't out of line with the will of God, or out of alignment with God. In fact, sometimes it would be, most of the time, actually, if not all the time, it would be something that God wanted me to share with a group. And so there's that protecting, and then overprotecting, and it just, you got to know the difference, and so that's just what I wanted to talk about. So I hope this helped.